But in 2014, I went through my biggest challenge in life, which changed my whole vision and perspective of life. And my wife and I, we lost our first son, who was a stillborn baby. And from that led to me building out a personal brand. And that was around the whole idea, which is what I said in my son's funeral. My son didn't get one breath on the planet. We're all in the game. Go out there and make the most of your one shot at life.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Sean here, and I'm so excited that we have a speaker and a business coach and an author and an entrepreneur and an investor on the show today. His name is Craig Schulze, and I am super pumped to learn from him. I do want to be kind of like this guy someday, if you guys know what I mean. He's the founder of the one-shot movement. He's been there, done that, had a lot of ups and downs in life, and my gosh, I'm super excited to listen to him, and I'm super excited for him to share your story with you and me as well today. So without further ado, Craig, welcome to the show.
Yeah, really looking forward to spending time with your audience and adding as much value as I possibly can.
Awesome. So Craig, usually I start the podcast with the founder's journey. What led you into entrepreneurship and what allowed you to hone your leadership and management skills?
Yeah, look, I think, I guess for me, life hasn't always been easy, and I was always a big dreamer. So I left home when I was 15 years old. It wasn't because I wasn't loved. I got brought up by beautiful parents, but in a very poor, not a very, I guess, many opportunities where I grew up. So I left home to get a good education, to get a good job. So financially, I've been self-funded since the age of 17. I became an engineer. And I didn't have a burning desire for trading time for money. So I fired my boss when I was 21 years of age to follow my dreams and passion. And that was the fitness industry. So 21, I bought a fitness club. I knew nothing about business, probably at 21, not too much about life. But what I lacked in there, I made up for the will to do whatever it takes to have success. And that meant personal development, growth. I would read books on sales, marketing, you name it. Every single night I'd fall asleep with a book across my face, and I learned how to build a business. 3 years in, I was a multi-award winning trainer. So imagine one of the states of Australia, I was the number one guy in that state. And I started building up notoriety, which is one of the keys to success. And what I do coach a lot now is to be that leader in your niche, that market leader in your niche, and more opportunities will come your way. Moving on from there, I set up 5 fitness clubs, sold 22 franchises, started investing in property. And in my mid-20s, I'm like, oh, wow, business is easy. This is an easy game for me. I would start a business, build a business, make money, invest in property, and it was sort of the wheel was working. And I hit my first speed hump in business, which was a global financial crisis. And at that time, I nearly lost everything. To give you an idea of what happened is banks stopped lending me money, so I couldn't sell franchises. Banks stopped lending me money, so I couldn't pay for the renovations for the hundreds of thousands of dollars to start a new gym. Banks stopped lending money. Or not just that, my gym clients were going, Craig, we love you, but we're worried about our income. A lot of people right now are worried about their income. Same back in 2008. So I lost a lot of my clients, and then the US dollar to the Australian dollar changed that much. My equipment costs went up hundreds of thousands of dollars overnight. And this was one of my biggest lessons in business was risk management. So I was an aggressive guy that everything went really well, and I nearly lost it all. And it took me 3 years to come out of that. During that 3 years, I changed my whole paradigm of how I went to make money. And this is just some important things to understand because it really relates to where we are today in 2021. I realized that I had all my eggs in the one basket. So my fitness club, retail, people would travel in my local community to be clients. And I'm going, wow, well, we've now got social media. We've now got our first smartphone. We've now got better internet tools. Now we have Zoom. We didn't have that back then. We now have Wi-Fi that's connecting people more and giving people all around the world an opportunity. I'm going to go online. So I then started selling products to my gym clients. 3 years later, I was making more money doing that than owning 5 gyms. And then in 2011, a company said, look, Craig, we've heard about your success. We'd like you to help us expand our product range around the world. And for the next 10 years, which is to where we are now, I built a business into 100 countries, earned over $6 million US in that time, traveled all around the world. But in 2014, I went through my biggest challenge in life, which changed my whole vision and perspective of life. And my wife and I, we lost our first son, who was a stillborn baby. And from that led to me building out a personal brand. And that was around the whole idea, which is what I said in my son's funeral. My son didn't get one breath on the planet. We're all in the game. Go out there and make the most of your one shot at life. And, it took me 4 years before I launched that. In 2018, I wrote a book called You've Got One Shot. And then I had a podcast where I interviewed over 150 of the biggest thought leaders in the world. I have invested very heavily in myself. So I've worked with some of the biggest names in the world, invested about $500,000 into my personal growth and journey. And for the last 2 years down in lockdown, my businesses, my investments, my assets, because I'm a private investor in a number of companies now. What I learned back in 2008, I said, I'll never be in that position again. 2020, when we're in lockdown, people losing their jobs, losing their houses, I positioned myself to be quite in a good position. The only thing I didn't factor in was lockdown. So being locked as a prisoner in your own environment hasn't been fun. But that's sort of the snapshot story of where, my journey to date.
That's an amazing journey. And there's so many questions I could ask just from that. And actually, one of the things that I would start with is when you mentioned that you were able to make more money than owning a couple of gym franchises. And that's an amazing thing. And were you doing that? You mentioned you traveled around the world. So I imagine that you made the $6 million traveling around the world just by working remotely. Is that right?
Correct. So what happened there, I went through the challenge and adversity, and I read a book. It was called The Next Millionaires. And this book was written in about 2006. And it was a highly acclaimed professor called Professor Paul Zane Pilzer. And he basically said the next millionaires from 2006 to 2016 are going to come out of 5 core areas. And the 5 core areas was the wellness industry, the e-commerce industry, the information industry, the direct selling industry, and the distribution industry. So not product creation, but shipping other people's products. So I said, okay, it's 2000 and early 2008. Maybe I can become one of the next millionaires. So I need to find a product in wellness. I need to have somebody else's product. I need to build information and education around that. I leveraged somebody else's platform, and I was able to make a 6-figure income in my 3rd year promoting their products. And then it was just about scale and leverage and looking for something that I could then take to the world first to market. And that was the concept around world first adult stem cell technology. And that's really where that all started.
So when you went into this stem cell adult technology, that is what you were saying about working remotely, traveling around the world, a lot of people would want that kind of life, Craig. You know that, right? And a lot of people asking me, like, how do you work from home? I work from home, but I run a digital marketing agency. And a lot of people would say, oh, but you need to have this skill and that skill, and you need to have this kind of diploma. What were the barriers to entry? Was it difficult for you to start? I mean, from owning gyms and being a fantastic instructor to learning these new things, what was the journey like, and was it worth it?
Yeah, I think it's a good question, because if I started doing what I was doing then 10 years into my entrepreneurial journey, that the outcome possibly could have been a whole lot different, because that 10 years in business, I learned how to sell. I learned how to market. I had influence over people. So people trusted what I said. I'd build out a resilience of challenge and adversity there was a period of time where I was running my fitness clubs, and when I get home at 8 o'clock at night, and then I'd run online webinars to people around the world, just to kickstart it, to see about it. But the whole idea of that book was really a major breakthrough for me. So I mentioned one of the key areas wasn't about product creation. It was about finding somebody else's product that was unique. It was in high demand. It was first to market. And if I could find that product there, then you could promote somebody else's product. And by doing that, you take away all the risk, you take away all the investment, you do take away a little bit more profit. But in the end, I was leveraging on the back end of breakthrough technology. And, that's one of my keys to success. I've leveraged franchising businesses. I've leveraged property. I've found online ways to make money. So I've made money leveraging eBay, for example. I've made money online setting up membership sites. I've made money leveraging different tools rather than go out and try and reinvent the wheel. I find something that's going to work, and then I'll go and put my skills to the work, and that's just use influence, education, and just absolutely the desire to do whatever it takes for success.
When you use the word leverage, I live in the Philippines. A lot of our listeners are from the Philippines and Singapore, and some of them might not understand it at a deep level. So when you say leverage, is it right when my understanding of it is you don't need to invest capital and you just, as you mentioned, use your skills, influence, and know-how and education to distribute these products and sell them?
Yeah, look, I can talk about leverage. Like on my website, I've actually got a big banner, create leverage and you can become unstoppable. My mentor first taught me this concept back in 2002. And he said, Craig, if you can leverage time, money, and meaningful relationships, the world will be your oyster. So how do you leverage time and money? Now, when you're in a job, you're trading time for money. So one thing that you need to do if you're in a job trading time for money is, okay, what can I sell that somebody has that somebody wants where I can make a little bit of extra money? So you could do that as a side hustle of some sort, make a bit of extra money. And then once you're making a bit of extra money there, you might be able to free up time. Or you might not. You might use it to invest into a property, for example, or you might use that money to start building a team around what you're doing to leverage money and time. So it's sort of like a concept you're not taught at school, but what you're trying to do is free up your time. So I mentioned to you before the show, due to lockdowns, made a lot of money over that 8 years. I've been 10 years now, but the last 2 years, I haven't done any events, not one single live event. I've barely gone out to do the work. But what I was able to do was at the start, I put in all the work up front, build a really big, good, high quality asset. And then now I'm getting paid for building that work at the front. And I'm not investing the time in like I am. I'm working on projects and different projects around the world. But there's lots of ways to leverage. So you can, what I call business alchemy. Business alchemy is creating something out of nothing. So a business alchemy, for example, might be you've got a digital marketing agency. Let me leverage your agency and I've got a client and a customer and I bring these two things together and I make money out of that. So I have nothing, but I have a potential customer and somebody delivering a service. That's what's called business alchemy or an example of it. So I looked at leveraging platforms. So I found a good boutique fitness brand and I said, this has got a good product to market fit. It's a really good price. It's a really good business opportunity, a really affordable way to get into the fitness industry. So I helped franchise that company because it was a good product to market fit. Now, again, with the direct selling company, I found a good product with a good platform that had 47 offices shipping into 150 countries. What I did was, you've got a really good product, a really good back end, a really good platform. I have influence and the skill to take your product to the world. So I leveraged their platform. But leverage, again, in the word of making money, I say make money on money. So making money on money is now I make money off 10 different ways because I mastered one way, but then it's invest more money into property. So I'm probably most wealthy now as a property investor, but I did that through building cash flow in business, redeployed that money, smart investments. And that's the key thing, smart investments, not invest in anything, smart investments that are going to help you. And the holy grail is if you can leverage and develop meaningful relationships. And that's one of my chapters in the book is about leverage. And I'm happy to give you an electronic copy that you can give out to your audience if you want as well. But
that'd be amazing.
That there is how I build my podcast. So I've interviewed probably the biggest names in the world on my podcast, and I leverage my story, my contacts to get better contacts on my show. And, I build an incredible podcast that way as well. So leverage is the key word, but there's lots of ways to leverage as well. Leveraging people's skills. So there's platforms like Upwork and, you'll probably know all those platforms better than me. That's a good way to leverage to create more time freedom. I'm not great at creating videos. So it's no point me spending 10 hours to create, a silly, small 40-second meme video. Why don't I leverage a platform that's already out there that specializes in that? And that's a really good investment on my time.
Very good stuff.
Oh, hey, and since you're here, can you do me a favor? Can you hit on the subscribe button and hit the bell button and select all notifications so that whenever we have a new video, you're going to be the first one to know. Until then, keep leading.
If you want to grow and evolve to be the best version of yourself, the thing that you need to do is continue to increase your human capital. And what I mean by that is to join groups with people that are doing something a bit better than you. And, they can help you rise up. But when you start rising up, one of the best things that you can do is reach down and help pull someone up.